just sitting here and reflecting, and there was something I wanted to share about and really explain the distinction between. So, the key distinction between dwelling on the past, living in the past, feeling trapped in the past and inhibited by it versus really pulling from the past. So if you think of Warrior Two pose, we're grounded in the present moment. We're looking forward into our future, but we're pulling from our past experiences because our past serves us when we are in this stance, when we're in this approach of life. When we're hung up over the past, when we're focused on all the things that didn't work out for us, all of the ways that we felt defeated or wronged, we get caught there, we get stuck there, we get hung up on what we wish things could be like, and it's very the lack mindset. But when we're focusing on having processed those experiences, which is why it's so essential to be in the present, it's not to say have that bypassing and toxic positivity experience where you diminish yourself and minimize your hurt, your pain, your grief, your suffering and sadness. Process it once it arises. So if something happens in your life or has happened, in order for you to truly move past it, you have to move through it. And something I always tell my clients and that I have to remind myself is you have to feel it to heal it. So pretending that it's not bothering you, dismissing it, and minimizing the effect it's having on you, past, present, or future, is not the way. The path forward is moving through it, processing, reflecting, and releasing. And then when you get through that, you can pull from that experience. And I'll give you an example. I had a client reach out to me in a period of darkness. And she shared with me that she was feeling this energy of like grief. You know, she didn't describe it as grief, but I recognized it because I've been there in my own ways. And because I was present with myself, I could identify and recognize and have empathy and compassion. And I could be present and hold space for that because I've held space for myself and I've been with myself. I've been aware. So I have the emotional intelligence where I can identify what this feeling is, that below the line feeling where it's not really beneficial in getting you where you want to go, but it is beneficial in terms of being able to connect with others, being able to have compassion for others. It's deepening us and it's expanding us. We can't really go up in the scale in terms of how we want to feel. So the above the line emotions that feel elated in the body, we can't really get to that if we don't go deep, right? It will all be very surface level. And there'll be these gaps, these dips, these feelings of disingenuousness and emptiness. It wouldn't be rooted. But when you really, and I'm not saying you have to experience trauma with a capital T or go through extreme pain for you to feel extreme happiness or seek and cling to the non-good feelings like sadness. But everything kind of works in tandem with one another, almost like that energy of as above, so below. So, or if you think of a tree, for it to really grow strong and tall, it has its roots deeply planted into the earth. And the deeper the roots, the stronger the roots, the healthier and the more longevity it has. So we want really healthy roots. But when we let the things that we've experienced feel like they've happened to us, not like they've happened for us, and this is where the mindset is extremely powerful as a tool in self-development, self-awareness. If our mind works against us and we start to have these beliefs about ourselves or the world that come from a fear mindset instead of that faith and hope and if it eats away at your spirit, that's when we're really in the lack, and that's when it really is, we're dwelling in it, and our spirit dwindles, our life force energy dwindles, and we need to feel vibrant and the vitality of our life force, our chi, in order to really thrive. So we have to move out of this survival, which those past experiences put us in, those non-beneficial experiences. We have to process them, and we can have the emotional intelligence develop where we can recognize and identify what we're feeling and what others are feeling as a form of connection and self-awareness without judgment. And we can be there for others in a really meaningful and supportive way, as well as ourselves. We can be like, oh yes, I'm not overwhelmed by this emotion. I'm not avoidant or anxious of it. I've been in that. I can relate, and everything's going to be okay because I've moved through it myself. Versus, oh God, get away from me. You're sad. I don't want that energy to stick to me, which is not emotional it's emotional intelligence, where you can recognize what the emotion is, but it's not emotional competence, because you don't feel secure in yourself to be present in the energy or frequency or vibration of that experience. So you reject others and yourself for having it. You abandon others or yourself for having it. And you judge others and criticize others and yourself and treat them as other, because you are terrified of that experience. And that's an indication that you haven't fully moved through, processed, and evolved through that emotional frequency, because you're in survival mode and it triggered by even the presence or the mention of it. And so this is a really big indication that there's more work to be done. There's shadow work to be done. There's fears to be processed. There's things to be released from your past experiences, whether conscious or unconscious, subconscious. And we can actually help ground you in the present and create that security so that you have the personal power to move through anything with emotional self-regulation, rather than rely on circumstantial power where you have to control everyone, what they talk about, what they don't talk about, what they feel, what they don't feel, and everything that happens. Because if, God forbid, something goes wrong, then you can't trust your own self to respond in a harmonious way, because it's all dependent on everything being perfect, which we all know stuff happens, and it's very unlikely that things will go 100% our way. So who you be in relation to every circumstance doesn't have to be dependent on the circumstance in order to determine your integrity and your grace in how you show up. Instead, you can have the personal power by coming into that self, going deep and facing the things that are dark in the shadows within yourself and your subconscious mind, your psyche, and really releasing the things you've felt stuck, trapped, and out of control in relation to. Healing that, while also giving yourself grace that it's not meant to be perfect, and healing is not linear. And we can learn from everything and let it be happening for us, and really using our mind to our advantage, connecting with our higher selves to lead us through challenges in our life, challenging circumstances, things that are upsetting and hurtful, things that make us feel angry, defeated, not rejecting the emotion because we are wishing it would be something else, but instead processing it in an effective and efficient energy and time way, so that we can move through and rise up and lead ourselves into that higher path, see clearly through the messiness and the chaos of that experience, and still choose what's in our highest good, even when we're in the storm.